So I got a little nervous. I was looking around. I didn't see Mac anywhere. And I was like, oh, no. And I had to check the football score. And then when I saw the Chiefs won yesterday, I was like, oh, no, Mac will be here.
Oh, he'll be here.
He'll be here.
He's not in a hole somewhere crying. He's okay.
No. So how much did you guys pay off the refs for that win yesterday?
Oh, my gosh.
No, I'm just kidding. You know I think football's fake and scripted anyway.
The writers are on strike, though, so I don't know how they're still playing.
How do they keep getting away with it? You're right. Good point. The writers are on strike. Just nailed it. Did you see The Rock came back to wrestling?
Oh, my gosh. That was hype.
Yo.
And you're a big wrestling guy.
I love wrestling.
Yeah.
Wrestling and politics are like the exact same thing to me. Like you see one thing on the screen, and then there's a whole story of what's going on behind the scenes.
Yes.
You know, it's like wrestling is politics. Politics is wrestling. They're the yin and the yang of life.
Oh, I love that.
So, but yeah, I mean, this writer's strike must be hitting the pockets hard. If The Rock has to come back to wrestling.
Yeah.
And be taking bumps. And how old is he now? He's like in his 50s.
Oh, for sure. Easily in his 50s.
Oh.
He doesn't look it, but he is.
Steroids, hell of a drug. Allegedly. Yeah. Crazy weekend. Yep. The Rock is back in wrestling. Max Chiefs cheated to win again. And, all sorts of stuff. Did you, the missing jet, there's a missing F-35.
Yeah.
The pilot ejected and the thing's just cruising around on autopilot.
Insane.
Pretty weird.
Terrifying. Very weird.
Very weird. It's probably already swimming in the ocean by now. That would be my best guess, that it's already in the ocean somewhere. But they're asking the public for help. Like, oh, okay, all right, dude, let's put up some posters around the neighborhood. Have you seen my jet? Like, how do you want me to help, sir?
Just people looking in the sky.
Yeah,
No,
like,
don't got it.
Nothing yet.
Yeah, like, what?
Like, how do you want me to assist? I don't know. I don't understand that. But yeah, let me get right on it. I'll be happy to help. Karine Jean-Pierre at a press conference Friday, and she was asked all the big questions. She was asked if she would pardon, if the president would pardon his son if he's convicted.
Second one, would the president pardon or commute his son if he's convicted?
So I've answered this question before. It was asked of me not too long ago, a couple of weeks ago, and I was very clear, and I said no.
So she said no. She was very clear. She said no. I don't believe it. I believe that the resident in chief would absolutely pardon his son. Why wouldn't he? Just as a dad, if and this is just full disclosure, full transparency. I love my kids. Unless it was like a heinous crime that involved children of some sort. Yup, I'm pardoning them. Like, why wouldn't you, dude? Why would who wouldn't pardon their own kid? Especially on lying on a background check. Like, yep, sorry, I would pardon him. And the president feels the same way. That there's no way Hunter Biden serves any jail time or any time at all for any of this. He will be pardoned. He will be. Unless things get so crazy that more charges come, which hopefully they do. But Kareem won't even say if Joe's spoken to Hunter since Hunter's been indicted.
Can you tell us if the president has talked to his son since these charges came down yesterday?
Yeah, there's nothing new here. As I've been asked that question many times, I'm not going to get into private conversations that the president has with his family. Just not going to speak to it.
Will those conversations, though, have to change given the heightened scrutiny of these charges?
I'm just not going to get into private conversations that the president has with his family.
We're not getting into family combos. Thank you, Karine. Thank you. But she did want to tell everybody, the important thing on the docket, which was, you got to get your booster.
So will the president get boosted, or will we do that?
Yeah, I've answered the second question already, which is the president is going to get the updated booster. That is something that he is planning to do. So answer that question a couple of days ago.
I feel like that should be a private conversation between you and your family and your doctor. I don't know why we can't get any word on other private conversations, but private health decisions that we're allowed to talk about that. I wish they would keep the privacy aspect up on the COVID vaccines. Like, I just don't care. Oh, it's out? Awesome. Thanks. Now everybody make your own private decision. I feel like that would be the best route to go. You know? But They don't want to be private about the COVID vaccine. They want to be private about the criminal charges. The COVID vaccine, I mean, juice, dude, they love it. They love the COVID vaccine.
Look, the fact is that we know that these vaccination against COVID-19 remain effective. They do.
They what? She said they remain what now? Because I'm old enough to remember Kathy Hochul, the governor of New York, a few weeks ago saying just the opposite of that.
Tell everybody, don't rely on the fact that you had a vaccine in the past. It will not help you this time around.
Wait a second. Who's? I feel like the Spider-Man meme where all the Spider-Mans are pointing at each other. Who do I believe? Karine Jean-Pierre says that they are useful.
Look, the fact is that we know that these vaccination against COVID-19 remain effective.
Okay, so they remain effective. That's KJP. But Kathy Hochul.
Tell everybody, don't rely on the fact that you had a vaccine in the past. It will not help you this time around.
I'm so confused. I'm just gonna have to wait until we hear more from the science. I gotta get more science in my life. So Karine Jean-Pierre says, no, dude, these things are solid.
They do, and they protect people from going.
What do they protect people from? What is it?
And they protect people from going to the hospital, or avoiding the hospital,
Okay.
long-term health challenges and death. And as we head to the fall and winter season, this is the best way to protect yourself from COVID.
Okay. So talk to your doctor. I mean, it's just hard for me to like buy all in on this. Like, I want to believe that your science juice works. I do, but like the last one you told me was awesome too, and now we're up to like what? How many shots do they want you to get now? It's like, dude, get a shot every month. Get all the shots. Gonna have to wait on the science because you tell me it works. You say it's great. Other leaders in other blue states say no, it doesn't. It doesn't. Okay, but you know. I guess just wait for more science. The science keeps changing. She was also asked about the UAW strike, and this is interesting.
We appreciate for what they've been doing for the past 24/7, the past 27 period of time, right? And we want to see them continuing to work this out, and that's what they're doing.
Yeah, let's work out the strike. The strike is really weird, man. I saw a story that Ford has temporarily laid off 600 Michigan workers as the UAW strike
Temporarily?
ramps up. Yep.
So basically saying, hey, no job right now. We could see you back later.
Got furloughed. Right?
Gotcha.
Is that the technical term
I
for
guess
it?
that would be the verbiage. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. A large backup.
Dang.
I know. This is like, I wonder who's screwing who here really. Like, are the union leaders screwing the workers?
Mm-hmm.
Is the Biden administration screwing the auto industry? I think there's a lot of screwing going on. It's a very screwy situation. But a large batch of Ford workers at the Michigan Assembly plant in Wayne have been temporarily laid off as the company endures the United Auto Workers strike. The company said Friday the number of workers was approximately 600. The workers are affected from body construction department and the South Sub-Assembly area of integrated stamping, the outlet noted. In a statement, Ford said, our production system is highly interconnected, which means the UAW's targeted strike strategy will have knock-on effects for facilities that are not directly targeted for a work stoppage. In this case, the strike at the Michigan Assembly plant's final assembly and paint departments has directly impacted the operations in other parts of the facility. This is not a lockout. This layoff is a consequence of the strike at the Michigan Assembly plant's final assembly and paint departments because the components built by these 600 employees use materials that must be E-coded for protection. E-coding is completed in the paint department, which is on strike. So, I mean, if I'm just looking at this on the surface, it feels like they're firing people to punish them for the strike. Weird. Seems like it's just a little bit of payback and retribution. Right? Is that just me? I don't know. I'm not into the weeds on the union stuff too much. I know there's a large portion of the audience that says union bad, and then there's a large portion of the audience that says government bad. It seems like this is a little bit of both. But if you're in the union or you've been in the union before, we've had some great callers on this in the past. If you can put some light on this from your perspective, feel free to jump in the conversation at 615-737-9986. The UAW, it's insane. And they even asked Karine Jean-Pierre at that press conference on Friday, is this really the president's doing? Like, is the push for green energy basically causing these strikes?
Thanks, Karine. I'm going to ask you about the strike, if I could. So, is the automakers' strike and the contract impasse partly a result of the president's forced transition to electric vehicles?
No, we don't believe that to be. Look, and you've heard us say this. Jared was here just the other day. He talked about the president's policies as it relates to the future of auto industry and how it's going to rebuild America, right? Making sure that we're making things in America, right, by American workers.
We're making things in America by American workers as we import everything for the batteries from other countries. All right.
That has always been the president's focus. EV sales, if you look at it, hit a record high last quarter, increased by nearly 50% from the same time last year. And EV prices are down 20% year over year, being driven in part by Inflation Reduction Act credits. So again, thanks to the president, thanks to congressional Democrats, sales are going up and costs are coming down. And that's what we're seeing.
Oh, okay. Sales are going up, costs are coming down. This is a good thing. People are losing their jobs. There's strikes. We could see a complete transformation of the auto industry, but don't you fear, you guys.
Down, and that's what we're seeing.
Ford says it's going to lose $4.5 billion this year on its EV division.
But look, I just laid out how.
Look, she can't even answer that question. Ford's going to lose all this money from their EV transition.
It's going to lose $4.5 billion this year on its EV division.
But look, I just laid out how important.
Look, I just laid out the costs are coming down and sales are going up. So, that's Ford's problem if they're losing $4.5 billion, sir.
It's going to lose $4.5 billion this year on its EV division.
But look, I just laid out how important this provision, as it was part of the Inflation Reduction Act, how important it is, how sales are indeed going up, right? That's Ford, right? Sales are going up while costs are going down. Really important to bringing manufacturing jobs here, making sure we're building in America, also making sure that we're dealing with the climate crisis.
Oh, there it is. Took her a little while to get to the true root of the problem.
Ding, ding, ding.
It's the climate crisis, you guys. Plus, that's Ford's problem that they're losing money because costs are going down and sales are going up. She should have brought a visual aid with a chart with some arrows because these reporters don't know what they're talking about. And they're solving the climate crisis at the same time. Who couldn't support this?
The climate crisis. This is what the president's focus is on, right? Making sure that we rebuild an industry back in America, as well as bringing jobs back here, too. And so that's what we're seeing. Again, sales are going up and costs are going down.
Sales are going up. Costs are going down. Don't look behind the curtain. Don't pay any mind that Ford is losing $4.5 billion on their EV division. Don't you worry about that, all right? Sales are going up. Costs are going down. She should have brought a visual aid. We're going to have more from the Karine Jean-Pierre press conference. We also have President Trump's take on the UAW strike. Interesting stuff. It is 9:20 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Iran prisoner swap, Social Security beneficiaries getting letters demanding payback. These stories and more at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. Getting a lot of texts in on this UAW strike. And thank you for your texts on the Super Text line, 615-737-9986. Feel free to call in, too, if you got if you want to shed some light on this situation. So 600 workers were laid off from the Ford plant temporarily. And I got a text here from Jason, 0674. He said that was the intention of the UAW. They were to target certain facilities that would trickle over to other facilities, and those employees in the other facilities will be laid off and able to draw unemployment instead of the UAW having to use so much of its strike fund. So the union is saving money, I guess. I don't know. It just feels like the opposite of the union looking out for you, right?
Yeah, that's not the point.
Yeah, it's kind of more like, hey, you're on your own.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah. Tell you what, you didn't want to be a part of the strike? Well, the department right before you, they're in, so you're going to be laid off. Weird. I got a text. It says, when GM was taken over by the union, this is from 8980. When GM was taken over by the union, they went quietly towards EV. Ford, on the other hand, is a rebel. So GM went quietly towards the EVs, and Ford went all in. 3703 says, this is the World Economic Forum's blueprint. Yep. Maybe. Possibly. 1031 said Joe Biden's focused on lowering costs. He said Joe Biden can't focus on his name. That's from 1031.
Bingo.
And then my favorite text, 2531. And these e-vehicles are not affordable by the average family. They're not. They're not. In fact, cars in general right now are not affordable.
No way.
For the average family. There was a crazy article. More than half of Americans have been priced out of being able to buy a car. Priced out. Like, that's crazy to me. You just can't afford it. More than half of Americans have been priced out.
And yeah, if you want a job, if you want to just function in society, in most places, I mean, that's kind of a necessity.
Yeah. So this is from the Daily Caller. Half of Americans are priced out of the current car market, unable to spare the average loan payment for either a new or used car following rising costs related to supply issues and interest rate hikes, according to experts. Yep. And I'm a big believer that a lot of the supply issues started way back when during Obama's Cash for Clunkers program. They took a lot of good used cars off the road. I don't know. Call me conspiracy theorist. It is 9:29 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Ken Weaver's waiting in the weeds with the news.
$9:30 on the dot this Monday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast coming up in 2 minutes. And reports say the U.S. and Iran have completed a prisoner swap for 5 detainees each. But Iran also gets $6 billion in unlocked oil assets. Hunter Biden has filed a lawsuit in Washington, D.C. federal court against the Internal Revenue Service over alleged unlawful disclosures made by a pair of whistleblowers who accused government prosecutors of mishandling their investigation into the president's son, and the federal government demanding Social Security recipients pay back billions of dollars for a mistake made by the agency. As Rhiannon Alley tells us, those who have received the demand letter described it as nothing short of a nightmare.
Former police officer Matt Cooper was shot while on duty in 2018. He and his wife rely on Social Security payments, but the couple got a letter demanding they return $30,000.
It's hard to actually heal and get better when you're constantly having to revisit the worst day of your life.
Matt was denied an appeal, even though it was the government that incorrectly factored in his workers' compensation.
That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. You often hear me talk about diversification in the investing process, but how do we diversify? Well, we look for things that move in dissimilar fashion historically. Some of those market areas might be really small companies or really large companies, or very growth-oriented companies or value-oriented companies. And one of the things that we find is that when we diversify between these various segments, we can reduce the volatility of the portfolio because they don't move in tandem with each other historically. Now, we can do that in U.S. markets, we can do that in international markets, and in emerging markets. And when we can dampen that volatility, we can help get ourselves a little bit of a better outcome as far as knowing what we might likely have in the future, or how we can take income from our investment portfolio. Now, we also want to add fixed income or bonds to the mix as well. Now, if we know that we need to do this, what's the best way to do it? Well, one of the things that we often teach is this concept of market efficiency. This won the Nobel Prize in economics as well. And it's the idea that if I'm investing in, let's say, small value stocks, if we look at professional managers and their ability to say, hey, should I have this stock or that one, and picking companies or areas of the market, we find that they typically get lower returns than the market does on its own. They just add expense and they can add a lot of volatility. One of the things we want to avoid is anything that can hurt your returns and increase your risk in the investing process. To learn more about our approach to investing and financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call, or call 615-851-1950.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Phone lines are open. 615-737-9986. I got a text here. First-time texter. Talking about the UAW strikes and the layoffs. The coincidental layoffs. He's first-time texter 7436 says, in manufacturing, everything is interrelated, independent, and each other. You can't take one or two cogs out of the wheel and expect it to still operate like it did before. Yeah, no, I get that. I do. He also goes on to say, you can thank the unions for over half of the Americans being priced out of not being able to purchase a new vehicle. Unions were useful 100 years ago, but now all they really are is an organized legal mob demanding ransom. And I used to work at a union for over 4 years before I joined the military and retired from the military. Interesting. Do you think it's the union's fault that Americans can't afford a car? Or do you think it's the Biden administration? I'd love to hear your input. 615-737-9986. So there's this article that's been circling from the Daily Caller. Came out Friday night, where the news goes to die, Friday evenings. But I've been hanging on to this because I think it's an important article. Half of the Americans are priced out of the current car market, unable to spare the average loan payment for either a new or a used car, following rising costs related to supply issues and interest hikes, according to experts. The car market could ease in the future, providing some relief to Americans as supply issues begin to resolve, absent an extended United Auto Workers strike, depleting inventories even further. The major reason for the rise in cost of auto payments are historically high prices for new and used vehicles since the pandemic, as supply for both have dwindled, coupled with rising interest rates over the last year plus. Thomas Contos, chief economist at wholesale vehicle auction company ADESA, I don't know what that stands for, told the Daily Caller News Foundation. So do you blame the unions for the high prices in cars, or do you blame the government? I mean, I get how people feel about unions. That's fine. I blame the government. And this has been an issue since the Cash for Clunkers program in 2009. You know, when I was coming up as a kid, I remember being able to buy a $500 car. Just on a whim. I would buy a $500. I went through like 4 $500 cars in like a year and a half period. Your car would become junk, and then you'd sell it to a junker. They'd come pick it up, give you $500. You go buy another $500 car. I did it so many different times. But those, what happened to those $500 cars that you used to be able to get? Well, remember the Cash for Clunkers program? This is from 2013. The Cash for Clunkers program was supposed to be a win-win situation for both the environment and America's struggling economy at the time. But one group said it was bad because the cars that were traded in weren't ever recycled. They were junked. So it was bad for the environment. But the unintended consequences of the Cash for Clunkers took a lot of cars that could still be driven off the road. That's when our supply issue started in the used car market, was Obama's Cash for Clunkers. So now as we're in Obama's third term, are you surprised that these car prices are through the roof for new and used vehicles? I'm not. Robert, who's a truck driver in Ohio, you have a comment on the UAW strike. What's up, Robert? You're on Super Talk.
When everybody wants to blame the UAW, and I'm not a union supporter, but hey, if they want one, that's their business. But if you want to blame the UAW for expensive cars, are Toyotas cheaper? Are Nissans cheaper? Those are non-union cars. I don't think a Ford or a Chevy or a Dodge is any more expensive than those are. And as far as blaming Biden, I'm blaming Biden for a screwed up economy. I'm blaming for, pretty much every stupid thing that's happened in the last couple of years. But people couldn't afford cars 4 years ago. They couldn't afford, the normal average American couldn't afford a new car for the last decade. They have, the rate of increase of the price of the vehicle has far outpriced inflation, and it isn't just the union cars that are going up, it's all cars.
No, hey, I don't disagree with you. Thanks for the call, Robert. Yeah, I don't think you can blame the union for across-the-board high car prices. And I don't even know if I blame the union for striking. I don't know. I'd have to dig more into it before I come to, like, a concrete opinion on whether this is good or bad. But where are the affordable cars? I feel like, it probably wouldn't even be possible in today's current climate with everything overseas. But where's a guy that just makes like a generic car without any fancy bells and whistles, no backup camera, just an AM/FM radio, no Bluetooth, like nothing. Just give me a bare bones car for a bare bones price. Why doesn't anybody do that? Like where the models are just 2-door, 4-door truck, van. There's nothing like that on the market. Everything has bells and whistles. Everything's fancy. I would buy a generic cheap car.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. 2889 comes in and says it's partly because of government regulations, which makes sense. He says, I've been in collision repair since 1987. It's all the sonar and safety features. The parts are ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, I know there's a lot of regulation, but couldn't we build something that's just bare bones and cheap for families?
3936 says it's called a motorcycle.
All right. So that's just a hard pass.
Yep, that's a no.
I mean, Duffy texted. He said, "I miss those '80s trucks for $500." Did you ever live in a time, Mac, where you could get a car for $500?
Definitely like 1,000 for sure.
So that's
maybe
800. That's a no.
That's a no. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't really remember. I wouldn't have been looking at cars if that was the time. But yeah,
I went through a string of just cheap junk boxes that like you were embarrassed to drive, and somehow you could still get a date and take your cheap $500 car to the McDonald's drive-through and go have fun. But I mean, those were the years. That was the best time of our life. But no, those cars are gone due to the Cash for Clunkers program, and currently half of Americans are priced out of the car market. It's unreal. The average monthly payment as of the second quarter of 2023 for a loan on a new car was $729. Let me say that again. The average monthly payment as of the second quarter of 2023 for a loan on a new car was $729. In 2022, year over year, that was $672. In 2021, year over year, that was $582. Are you kidding? That's insane. In the same quarter where your average car loan was the average new loan for a car was $729. In that same quarter, the median monthly earnings income for Americans was only about $4,500. Financial experts recommend that you don't spend more than 10% of your income on car loan payments. So that would, if the median income is around $4,500, that would mean that the recommended average car payment for an American should be $450. Oh, I don't know. The numbers don't add up when the average monthly payment of a loan on a new car was $729 last quarter, second quarter of 2023. $729. How can people afford this? They can't. And that's before you even get into the rising costs of groceries, before you get into the rising cost of utilities, rent, interest payments on your credit cards. What are we going to do? It is so hard out here. It's hard for families when you have good jobs. You're cutting corners to do things for your kids. How can people keep up with this? James, who's listening in South Carolina. What's up, James? You have a comment on prices. James, you're on Super Talk. Hey, James, what's up?
Hey, Chris. Just, I guess, in my opinion, man, it's just the way capitalism's supposed to work, man. If they can't, they're overpriced, and then nobody's going to buy it, and then they're going to have to lower prices. I mean, I just figure that's the way it's supposed to work. What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like we've been saying that now for a year plus, and the prices keep going up.
I mean, I guess if then nobody's buying them, they're going to have to figure something out,
All right. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. I mean, they're just going to sit on the lots. We'll see what happens. Hey, you're listening in South Carolina?
I am.
All right. Hey, if you see that jet, give us a call.
right, I'll do it, man.
Yeah, appreciate it. Everybody's got to be on the lookout for that missing jet. So thanks. Thanks. I just want to,
Yeah, James should not be calling us right now. He's got bigger fish to fry.
James should be hanging up posters. Have you seen my jet? Harry and Dixon, you have a comment on cars to Mexico. Harry, you're on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What's up?
Hey, thanks for taking my call. I'm telling you, I live in Dixon. If you travel down I-40 at any time, day or night, there are cars being towed out of our country to Mexico in threes. You see them, and I see them a dozen times a day, and we're shipping all of our cars down to Mexico, and I contacted Marsha Blackburn's office, and they aren't even calling me back about this. This is a national security issue. We're losing all of our used cars, and where are the minorities screaming about this? Because they're the ones that are looking to buy these cars. Where are the people who are looking for a starter car for their kids? All these cars are after cash for clunkers. Thank God you said that, because cash for clunkers just killed the used car parts market. And I raised two boys who were trying to live on old cars. And I'm telling you what, man, our country is not regulating our used parts. And they're letting I just wish someone would stop this nonsense and investigate while we're allowing these cars to go down the highway in triplicate. It's sketchy as it is how they tow them down the highway anyway. But the reality is they're heading to Mexico, and we're killing ourselves. And I can't thank you for bringing this topic up.
So I haven't seen that they're being shipped to Mexico, but I have seen some shiny, nice Toyota trucks in the Middle East. But I haven't seen a lot of news on them being shipped to Mexico, so I will look into that. But I thought you brought up a good point, saying that cash for clunkers also decimated the used auto part market, because I remember, I'm old enough to remember that when we needed a part, we could go to a junkyard and start poking around and find something.
Yeah, I'm 62, and I'm telling you, I was in the same boat. You have a pick-apart companies around here, but I'm telling you, their inventories are low. They don't have a lot of choices. And we lived off that, man. And I was like you. I was buying $500 cars. And, keep in mind, I was only making $12,000 too. So, but the reality is you could flip cars a lot. And now I feel sorry, man. I got 23, 28-year-old boys, and it's almost impossible to find a car that's drivable for less than $10,000 right now.
No, you're absolutely right. And thanks for the call, Harry. I appreciate it. I saw a guy once say, what you got to do is go out and buy 10 Nissan Altimas. Just buy 10 of them and sit on them. So when something goes wrong, you can just replace them with the parts from the other Nissan Altima. That's how you survive a zombie apocalypse. But no, dude, I remember going to junkyards to get replacement parts all the time. My favorite car I bought for $500. It was a 1987 Lincoln Continental. The thing was so boss. I was driving it. It was like right around Hurricane Katrina hit, so gas prices started going crazy. And I'm working for free at the radio station, at a hip hop station in Boston. And I'm working for free, and I'm driving an hour a day for work. So really, I'm like paying hundreds of dollars a week to work at this radio station. And I remember thinking to myself, like, how am I gonna keep going? But the radio station would always do cool things for me to like keep me motivated. And my boss was like, "Hey, DMC from Run DMC?" Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. He said, I need you to go pick him up from the airport. So I was like, no kidding. I was like, all right. He's like, your car works, right? I was like, yeah. It's an 87 Lincoln. So I think if DMC's been in one of these, it was probably like 86.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, okay, take my Lexus. All right, thanks.
Sweet.
I'll be back. But yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
But I remember driving that $500 car and just being like grateful that like you could scrape by and do it. How do kids that are trying to like make something of their life and like become somebody do that nowadays when it's like $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 for like bottom of the barrel? Because even that 87 Lincoln for $500 was probably nicer than what you can get for bottom of the barrel now. And definitely nicer than what you get for $500 now. It's unsustainable out here for families, for people trying to make it, people coming up. I mean, I feel for people.
I mean, I'm extremely thankful, man, because to be frank, my car went out about a year ago, and if it weren't for my mom just to be able to help me just get there and pay her back along the way, I wouldn't be able to have gotten to work. It's hard.
It is. Props to Mama Maury.
Seriously, man. Yeah. Help me out big time.
I mean, my parents helped me out left and right when I was a kid. I mean, that's what good parents do.
Seriously, thankful for it, man. I mean, you don't always want that, but sometimes it's what has to happen.
100%. Hey, Jim in Clarksville, I see you hanging on the line, and we got more calls from next. I see the phone lines lighting up. 615-737-9986 if you want to chime in on this conversation. Getting to more of your texts next. It's 9:52 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
New developments in the investigation of the murder of an L.A. County deputy. This story and more at 10 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. Looking forward to that. It is 9:58 already, man. The time is flying by. Rebecca, Jim, I see you guys hanging on the line. We're gonna continue this conversation after the break. Plus, we have audio from President Trump's interview with Meet the Press. We'll get to that as well. And Adam Kinzinger, everybody's favorite Republican, Adam Kinzinger, says there's no evidence against Joe Biden. Weird. But I'm seeing a lot of talk on the Super Text line about used cars. Seeing a lot of talk about car prices. And somebody brought up what I talked about a few weeks ago, the silent depression that we're living in, about how our money isn't keeping up with inflation. And we could be in a greater financial crisis than we even realize because nobody's talking about it. But we'll talk about it here on Super Talk, and we'll do that after the news with Ken Weaver, which happens right now on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Ten o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. I don't see any chance for rain this week so far. We'll let you know about it during the full forecast in 2 minutes. New developments coming from California where somebody's been detained in the weekend murder of an L.A. County deputy.
Law enforcement sources are telling ABC News a person of interest has been detained in the murder of 30-year-old deputy Ryan Klinkenbroomer. Details surrounding the person of interest will be released by the sheriff later today. Klinkenbroomer was sitting at a stoplight when surveillance video showed a car pull up alongside the deputy's black and white patrol SUV and then speed off. Klinkenbroomer was executed sitting at that stoplight in the driver's seat. A motive for the shooting has not been clear.
Alex Stone says there was a $250,000 reward for information leading to a suspect's arrest. Reports say the U.S. and Iran have completed a prisoner swap for 5 detainees each, but Iran also gets $6 billion in unlocked oil assets. The Biden administration has said it will make sure that money goes only toward humanitarian causes, not to Iran's nuclear program, but it remains unclear exactly how the Biden administration would make sure of that. Hunter Biden has filed a lawsuit in a Washington, D.C. federal court against the Internal Revenue Service. This over alleged unlawful disclosures made by a pair of whistleblowers who accused government prosecutors of mishandling their investigation into the president's son. And after Social Security officials reportedly overpaid more than $21 billion to Americans by mistake, the government's now sending surprise bills to some who received those checks, leaving them flustered as they scramble to fix the mistake they say they didn't make. Here's Rebecca Jarvis.
Former police officer Matt Cooper, who was shot in 2018 while on duty, and his wife Kristen rely on Social Security and workers' compensation payments. But the couple received a letter demanding they pay back $30,000 because they say the agency failed to correctly factor in Matt's workers' compensation.
The system has definitely let us down.
The Coopers were denied an appeal, even though this was a government mistake. The SSA telling our affiliate WSB they're required by law to recover these payments.
That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Chris Hand hanging out with you, 10:04 on this Monday. I just said to Mac off the air, can you believe we're halfway through September already? More than half.
I had to do like a double take. I was like, what?
Blew my mind. Also blowing my mind, the story circulating this weekend. Half of Americans are priced out of the car market. Things look like they could be getting worse with this UAW strike. Jim in Clarksville, you have been hanging so patiently on line one. You have a comment on this UAW strike. Jim, you're on Super Talk. What's up?
Hey, I was actually just calling before the break to respond to one of the guys that called a couple back. Everything in a true free market revolves around supply and demand. And I 100% agree that cash for clunkers negatively affected that supply side on that equation. And it didn't help that Obama had to spend billions of dollars to bail out GM and others to keep them profitable.
Yep.
But moving forward to present day, Bidenomics, the staggering inflation has priced a lot of things out of reach, including cars. And as that guy said before, capitalism should bring the cost down. True capitalism. Unfortunately, Biden, just as Obama did, is spending billions of dollars to these car companies to keep them profitable due to their losses in electric vehicles. So it wipes out the whole capitalism factor in the supply and demand. So I don't foresee costs coming down anytime soon as long as these policies remain as they are.
No, and I'm with you. Thanks for the call, Jim. I appreciate it. I just got a text that basically echoed what Jim said. I work for a company that sells used cars. One of the cars had 113,000 miles on it, and they were asking for $33,000 price firm. I mean, not a lot of context on what car it was, but just could you imagine paying $33K for a car with 113,000 miles? A used car? That's crazy. Rebecca in Nashville, you have a comment on used cars. You're on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What's up, Rebecca?
I just wanted to make a comment about why there aren't any or not many used cars that are 10 years and older on the market. The scrapyards are buying them and running them through the crushers and then selling that scrap. So that's taking those used cars totally out of the market.
Insane. Yeah, no, you're probably right. Thanks for the call, Rebecca. My wife reminded me we had a Volkswagen Jetta that we sold, and the dealership we sold it to said, yeah, we're sending it right over to Saudi Arabia.
Wow.
Like right away.
That's nuts.
Yep. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. And I got some context on the car for $33K price firm with 113,000 miles. That was a Jeep. So in my mind, I'm picturing, is it like a Range Rover? Are they going to say Mercedes? Maybe a Ford F-150. You know what I mean? Like a nice big old truck or something.
Yeah.
No, it was a Jeep. Brian texted in. He said, my friend owns a mechanic shop. He said cars are only made to last to 150K miles, even with preventative maintenance. I don't know. I remember back in the day, my friends would have Toyota Corollas that are pushing $3 bills.
Oh, for sure.
Easy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Million-mile cars. That's what they called them.
Where are those at? That's what I'm saying. We need a company that can just reproduce those early 90s Corollas and Camrys and just call it car. Yeah. We have 4 basic models: 2-door, 4-door, van, truck. Just the car company. You probably couldn't even get away with it with regulation nowadays. But just give me a car with no bells and whistles. That's what I want. I talked about this before. The silent depression. It's a term that's been trending. Biden keeps saying that we're doing great. But at the height of the Great Depression in 1930, The average net yearly income for Americans was right around $4,800, anywhere from $4,800 to $5,000, depending on who you asked. Right? Per year, Americans were making $4,800 to $5,000. Adjusted for inflation, that's right around $89,000 to $90K today. When you adjust people making, and I know a lot more people were out of work during the Great Depression, but the people that were working, their average income per year was $4,800 to $5,000, depending on when you check or who you ask. That from 1930, that was your average income, $4,800 to $5,000. You adjust that through an inflation calculator, and that's $89,000 to $90,000. So the average income of the United States today, again, depending on where you look, can be anywhere from $53,000 to $60K. So when you run it through the inflation calculator, the average American today makes less than the average American during the Great Depression. If you're employed. I understand that a lot more people were unemployed during the Great Depression. But then when you run that through the inflation calculator even more so, the average new car during the height of the Great Depression was $860. You adjust that for inflation, and it would be $15K. But we're looking now that a majority of new cars today are $50K. Unbelievable. Our favorite mailman, Todd, is on line one. Todd, welcome to the show.
How you doing, sir?
Good, man. What's up? You have a comment on the Toyota?
Yes. You was talking about cars and used cars and everything. I mean, used cars, the price on them is ridiculous. I mean, it's crazy. But the story I've got real quick, I know you're busy. I love your show. Love you guys. Thanks for letting me be on. I bought a Toyota Corolla, little 1.8 liter.
Yep.
I was a third owner. When I got it, it had 29,000 miles on it. It's sitting at my house right now with 383,000 miles.
Yo, those cars last forever.
Oh, I mean, now, granted, when of course, she would run, but she's got some electrical issues. When I was driving her, if she got above 70 miles an hour, it was like, like the whole car would shake. she kept on going. My mail car, I sort of went green, but I didn't go green for the right reason. I went green to save money. My mail car I use is actually a Toyota RAV4 hybrid because I'm a mail carrier. I'm a rural carrier. I know it. POV, personally owned vehicle.
Yep.
They pay us an allowance, I guess you call it, for gas and everything. But when gas got like $4 plus, I only had to fill it up like twice a week or 3 times a week. So I've done it to save money. And my Rav's got 100. I bought it in 18, and she's got 123,000 on it now.
Jeez.
And I ain't had the first lick of trouble out of it.
Hey, man, I love it. I love it. Thanks for the call, Todd. I appreciate you, and thanks for showing up on time today.
Appreciate it, Todd.
I'm an hour late.
Oh, Todd.
Dang it.
We would have given you a pass today. Appreciate you, Todd. Thanks for calling in. I had a 93 Corolla, and that thing, I used to get the speed wobble on the highway, too. Granted, I was 19 and driving like 110.
Maybe it wasn't 70.
I was like Hunter Biden in a residential neighborhood at times. I would get the speed wobble too. I would. But yeah, man, it is unaffordable to own a car in 2023. They're sending the used cars out of the country. They are just racking up the price. Every interest hike that happens, the average monthly payment in the second quarter of 2023 for a loan on a new car was $729. In 2022, that was $672. In 2021, it was $582. Unreal. It was $519 in 2022 for a used car. $440 for a used car in 2021. It's absolutely unaffordable to drive a car. And I had a super texter say, is this because they want everybody in 15-minute cities? Maybe so. Maybe so. I'd have to look up the World Economic Forum goals, but I do believe that they wanted to make car ownership a luxury Well, they're certainly well on their way to that. Daniel in Tullahoma, you're an auto technician. You got a comment on what we're talking about. What's up, Daniel? You're on Super Talk.
I'm an auto diesel technician, and the other side to all this automotive thing is the fuel that we're getting is garbage. Usually about 40,000 mile mark with all this garbage fuel, I'm having to do a complete fuel cleaning, which is valves, cylinder, the whole fuel system. So people need to be aware of where they're getting their gas. Me personally, the best places where I get gas, and I've seen a big difference, is at Shell and BP versus Speedway, Raceway, all those other places that, the garbage, the fuel is just garbage.
No, and you make a good point. A lot of people have said that. Even President Trump has said that, we're sitting on good oil in our country, yet we're buying basically tar from third world countries.
Correct.
Unbelievable. Hey, thanks for the call, Daniel. I appreciate it. If you got something you want to add to the conversation, 615-737-9986. This is what Trump said on oil prices when he sat down with Kristen Welker on Meet the Press. Kristen Welker is the new Meet the Press host. Chuck Todd is out. Kristen is in. This is what Trump said about how he would get inflation down. Then he kind of goes into the current state of our oil.
All right. Well, let's stay on track with this question, though. So just to be very clear, if you were reelected, would you direct your Fed chair to lower interest rates?
Depends. It depends. Depends where inflation is. But I would get inflation down because drill we must. We will be drilling for oil. We are going to become, again, energy independent. We are going to reduce our debt because we're also going to become energy dominant. We were ready to go dominant within a matter of months.
Amen.
We would have been making so much money. We have more oil, I call it liquid gold, under our feet than any other country, Saudi Arabia, Russia. And there's no country with more, and it's sweet. It's the finest. We have the best. We're taking it from Venezuela. You know what it is? Tar. It's the worst.
We're getting tar from Venezuela, President Trump said. To that last caller's point about the fuel is ruining our cars as well because we're not using the good oil that we have underneath our feet, according to President Trump. We're using the tar from Venezuela. Dalton in White County, you have a comment on cars, line 2. Dalton, you're on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What's up, Dalton?
Hey, thanks for taking my call.
Absolutely.
It's a lot. It's kind of a circular point. People not buying new cars, but you can't afford them because of used cars being so expensive. But why wouldn't you put $5,000 in a used car when a new car costs $50,000?
Yeah, I hear where you're at. It just seems like it's absolutely unaffordable when they're selling a used Jeep with 113,000 miles for $30,000.
Yeah, when 10 years ago, that same Jeep, you could have probably bought it for $5,000.
Yeah, that same Jeep 10 years ago probably was like $17K brand new. But I appreciate the call, Dalton. Thanks so much. Dawn in White House, you have a comment on cars. Dawn, you're on Super Talk. What's up, Dawn?
Hey, hi. Thanks for taking my call.
Absolutely.
So I already have car problems with, I have the Kia Soul, and, my engine is already garbage. And so I have been noticing the garbage gas for a while because my car runs even worse at that point. And so I normally, because I work at a local store, I get my gas there at Kroger. And so my car is used to Kroger. So when I have to go to, like the last caller talked about, BP being one of the better gas stations, I had to go to, I went towards Memphis. I was a couple of hours away, not in Memphis though. And I had to stop at a BP gas station, and my car, I actually had to do manual shifting because my car wouldn't shift because the gas was so bad.
That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy.
I have to wait through this tank of gas for my car to start running better. Air quotes.
So weird. Hey, thanks for the call, Don. I appreciate it. Full disclosure, I'm not an auto mechanic. I don't know how that stuff works. Can bad fuel make your car not shift? I don't know.
No clue.
Speaking Chinese.
Same, yeah. Chris and I confirmed not car dudes.
Yeah. Confirmed not car dudes. Me and Mac both looked at each other and were like, oh, maybe.
Sounds maybe correct.
I wouldn't put it past it. I have no idea. Dave in Gallatin might have an idea. Dave, you have a comment on cars. You're on Super Talk. What's up? Hey, Dave.
Hello.
Hey, what's up, Dave?
Yeah, I wanted to comment. I recently disposed of a 95 Ford Taurus, had over 500,000 miles on it, and
Whoa.
all I did was normal maintenance. The only reason I got rid of it was because it was in need of its fourth transmission. Original motor.
Man, Dave, you should have gone for the high score, bro. you should have gone in for that new transmission just to see how high you could get that thing ticking.
Well, the way it was running and the gas mileage it got, it might have kept ticking for a while, but now I got I'm driving a 2000 BMW that's got 250,000 miles on it and still doing great.
Nice, man. Good for you. Keep it going. I appreciate it. Thanks for the call, Dave. All right, yeah. I mean, this fuel stuff. People are saying bad fuel cannot make your car shift. No. Sounds like a tranny problem. Listen, Dave. Oh, we meant the transmission.
Hey, come on. Hey.
Hey, wait a second. All right, so yeah, it was Dawn in White House, right?
Yep.
Dawn might have a tranny problem. So, check out your tranny, Dawn. Just saying. Confirmed, Chris and Mac, not car guys. But also confirmed, these car prices are unaffordable for over half of Americans. It started with Obama and cash for clunkers. As with a lot of things in this country, it's Obama's fault. 1021 on Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. Hey, it's Chris Ham from my friend Jeff Eddy in Efficient Heating and Cooling. It can be so hard to find someone you trust with these large repairs, Like you got to have a mechanic, but you also need to have an HVAC guy. And if you don't have an HVAC guy, you do now. My man Jeff Eddy with Efficient Heating and Cooling. They're a small company with big service and even bigger results. I got to sit down with Jeff, have lunch with him, talk to him about life. He's a good guy, a family guy, a Christian. And I know that he's going to do whatever he can to help you make the right decision in repairing or replacing your system. I mean, Jeff and his crew, they'll walk you through every option and scenario so that way you can make an informed decision. Most other companies are just going to pressure you to replace the system because they make more money that way. Well, not Efficient Heating and Cooling. Plus, with Efficient Heating and Cooling, they offer up to 18 months, same as cash financing on your next unit. So if you've been talking to somebody, they're pressuring you to replace your HVAC unit, give Jeff and his crew a call. Let them get a second opinion on this thing. You would get a second opinion if you were talking to a doctor. So get a second opinion with your HVAC guy, or even a first opinion. Trust Jeff Eddy in Efficient Heating and Cooling. They're a diamond contractor with Mitsubishi Electric, an Elite Pro partner with Rheem. They offer up to 18 months, same as cash financing on your next unit. So go to efficienthvac.net or call 615-784-4424.
5 Americans on their way back home and a prisoner swap with Iran. This story and more coming up at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All right, we have a competing opinion on the Super Text line. People are saying that bad gas can't make your car shake or give you shift issues. All right, we're getting other texters saying bad fuel can indeed make car shift issues. Sandra texted in, dirty fuel injectors will make your car shake. I don't know. Not a car guy. Not a mechanic. But I do agree with this text. Randy says, Chris, are we going to start looking like Cuba in their cars? Probably. Except it's going to be worse because we don't have anybody that knows how to fix them anymore. You know, it used to be like everybody could change their own oil. Everybody could do basic car maintenance, and then you get me and Mac in here, and we don't know what the hell we're talking about. No idea. It's a lost art. So I worry that we could be in far worse shape than Cuba.
Way more people too.
Yeah, way more people.
Way more cars.
Way worse shape. 5930 says bad fuel can make your engine run so bad that shifting manually helps get you going. Ask a transmission mechanic. Many people take their car to a transmission shop because of a clogged fuel filter. Signed, 40-year mechanic. All right, so bad fuel is the problem. So everybody that's what we're going with.
Yeah, we're going to take the majority of the super textures there. So Don, you were correct about your car.
Don was right. I hope Dawn's still listening.
Yes, she's like, I know I was.
I hope she didn't get to work and walk out going, oh, it wasn't the fuel. I don't know what it could be then, because now we're saying sorry. President Trump said just that. We have dirty fuel, tar from Venezuela. This is what he said during his Meet the Press interview just the other day.
We would have been making so much money. We have more oil, I call it liquid gold, under our feet than any other country, Saudi Arabia, Russia. And there's no country with more, and it's sweet. It's the finest. We have the best. You know, we're taking it from Venezuela. You know what it is? Tar. It's the worst.
It's the worst. It's tar. Yep. And then we have to refine it as well. Don, if you're still listening, 2862 says, put some fuel injector cleaner and seafoam in it and try again later. Oh, Don's back on the line. Don, you're on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What's up, Don?
I was walking my dog, guys. I didn't hear any of the conversation after I hung up.
So they're saying, well, I think the best text that I've gotten is from 9634. It says, note to self, don't ask radio talk shows what's wrong with my car.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So check your fuel filters, apparently. And then also, it wasn't your gas and it was your gas.
But it's a closed transmission system, so it's not like I can add transmission fluid to it. So, and I'm recently divorced, and so I'm a single female on a Kroger income. You know, although I do make good money-ish, you know, what am I supposed to do?
I don't know. I would open up that transmission, let some air get in there. That's my best advice.
Get a fan.
Yeah, put a fan on it.
So take it to give a fan. Oh my God.
No, yeah, I'm just kidding. I have no idea what to do with your car. I would talk to a mechanic.
Thank you.
Oh, and then also Aaron Stokes has Fixing Cars with us Saturday mornings on 99.7, so you can check out that show as well. He knows about cars.
All right.
All right. And I have a mechanic that will give you your number. We can give you a mechanic's number if you want to hang on the line too. Who's offering up his number? We'll send it your way.
Amazing.
Super Talk Connect. Super.
Yes.
All right. Perfect. Thanks for the call, Don. All right.
Thank you. Have a great one.
You too. Appreciate you listening. 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Ken Weaver's got the news.
10:30 on the dot this Monday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. I don't see a chance for rain all week long. Will be a bit warmer than it was last week, though. Full forecast coming up in 2 minutes. 5 Americans on their way back home in a prisoner swap with Iran. Here's Karen Travers.
The plan is for the group to depart as quickly as possible for the Washington, D.C. area, where they will be reunited with their families. As part of this deal, the U.S. is allowing Iran to have limited access to $6 billion in frozen oil revenue. Republicans have been very critical of this agreement, saying any money going back to Iran is dangerous.
The L.A. County Sheriff's Office says it's detained a person of interest in the ambush murder of Deputy Ryan Klinkenbroomer, and a new updated COVID vaccine recommended for everyone 6 months and older, now approved by the FDA, being made available starting today at least one major pharmacy, Walgreens. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. You often hear me talk about diversification in the investing process, but how do we diversify? Well, we look for things that move in dissimilar fashion historically. Some of those market areas might be really small companies or really large companies, or very growth-oriented companies or value-oriented companies. And one of the things that we find is that when we diversify between these various segments, we can reduce the volatility of the portfolio because they don't move in tandem with each other historically. Now, we can do that in U.S. markets, we can do that in international markets, and in emerging markets. And when we can dampen that volatility, we can help get ourselves a little bit of a better outcome as far as knowing what we might likely have in the future or how we can take income from our investment portfolio. Now, we also want to add fixed income or bonds to the mix as well. Now, if we know that we need to do this, what's the best way to do it? Well, one of the things that we often teach is this concept of market efficiency. This won the Nobel Prize in economics as well. And it's the idea that if I'm investing in, let's say, small value stocks, if we look at professional managers and their ability to say, hey, should I have this stock or that one, and picking companies or areas of the market, we find that they typically get lower returns than the market does on its own. They just add expense and they can add a lot of volatility. One of the things we want to avoid is anything that can hurt your returns and increase your risk in the investing process. To learn more about our approach to investing and financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call or call 615-851-1950.
10:35 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Thank you for being a part of the show on the Super Text line and on the phone lines at 615-737-9986. 615-737-9986. President Trump was on Meet the Press over the weekend. And this portion of the interview really caught my attention. They brought up Jan 6, the insurrection. The insurrection of January 6th. And Kristen Welker, the new host of Meet the Press. First of all, the Meet the Press interview, I felt like she really had something to prove. I mean, she was being a total hardo and really trying to lay into President Trump, which makes for good, compelling TV because Trump didn't put up with any of it. But when the topic of January 6th came up, this is what it sounded like. Oh, right here.
I want to know who you called
By the way,
on that day.
Nancy Pelosi.
I
don't have. Why would I tell you that? Listen, Nancy Pelosi was in charge of security. She turned down 10,000 soldiers. If she didn't turn down the soldiers, you wouldn't have had January 6th.
Did you call military or law enforcement?
What?
Did you call military or law enforcement at the moment the Capitol was under attack?
I'm not going to tell you anything. Let me put it this way.
I love his. I'm not going to tell you anything. It's so funny. What? I'm not going to tell you anything.
What?
Did you call military?
I just love that. Listen.
What?
Did you call military or law enforcement at the moment the Capitol was under attack?
I'm not going to tell you anything. Let me put it this way. I behaved so well. I did such a good job.
I behaved so well.
Classic.
I did such a good job.
Such a good job.
So funny. And I'm of the opinion that Trump didn't do anything wrong on January 6th, full disclosure. But this is still so funny. My son had his first sleepover over the weekend at a friend's house, away from the house. And he went to a buddy's house over the weekend, and he slept over there, and he had a blast. Him and his sister went. There's another brother-sister that they hang out with. So I said, "Hey, man, how were you? Did you behave?" And you know what he said to me?
I behaved so well. I did such a good job.
Literally, just like that. Oh, did you do good? You're on your best behavior?
I behaved so well. I did such a good job.
So funny. Well, this is Trump talking about his behavior on January 6th.
I behaved so well. I did such a good job. Nancy Pelosi turned down 10,000 soldiers. If she didn't do that, and now
Nancy
I understand.
Pelosi doesn't have the authority that
the
you
police
have as
testified
commander-in-chief, though.
Listen to me, Kristen. Listen to me. I understand that the police testified against her. The chief very strongly against her. Capitol Police, great people. They testified against her, and they burned all the evidence. Okay, they burned all the evidence. They destroyed all the evidence about Nancy Pelosi.
What do you say to people who wonder why you as commander-in-chief, you have authorities that Nancy Pelosi doesn't have as commander-in-chief?
No, she has authority over the
Why didn't
Capitol.
you send help in that moment, though?
Frankly, just so you understand, I assumed that she took care of it.
He assumed she took care of it. Well, I mean, even back in December 21st, 2022, House GOP report faulted Nancy Pelosi for the January 6th security failures. This is from Miranda Devine in the New York Post. And I'll be honest with you, Miranda Devine has been right about a lot of stuff. And she reported this. House Republicans issued a scathing report on Wednesday exposing House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's key role in the catastrophic security and intelligence failures that left the U.S. Capitol vulnerable to a violent attack on January 6, 2021. Days after Pelosi's Jan 6 committee recommended insurrection charges against former President Trump over the Capitol riot, Republicans hit back with a counter-investigation blaming her for the internal security breakdown on January 6 to Pelosi and a dysfunctional Capitol Police Intelligence Division. Leadership and law enforcement failures within the U.S. Capitol left the complex vulnerable on January 6, says the report, which is based on a trove of texts and email messages and testimony from Capitol Police leaders and rank-and-file officers. Even the House Sergeant at Arms, Paul Irving, who answered to Pelosi as one of the 3 voting members of the Capitol Police Board, said they succumbed to political pressures from the office of the Speaker Pelosi and House Democratic leadership. They were compromised by politics and did not adequately prepare for violence at the Capitol. Yeah, of course they didn't prepare for violence at the Capitol because violence at the Capitol was a good thing for the Democrats. The optics of it, Democrats have been running with ever since. And it was Nancy Pelosi that turned down the National Guard. Unbelievable. From the New York Post, this is from 2022, December of 2022. Pelosi and her staff closely coordinated with Irving on security plans for the joint session of Congress on January 6th, but Republicans were deliberately left out of the most important discussions related to security. In an apparent attempt to hide from Republicans the fact that they were being excluded from the discussions, Irving asked a senior Democratic staffer to act surprised when he sent key information about plans for the joint session on January 6, 2021 to him and his Republican counterparts. The staffer replied, I'm startled, sarcastically, obviously. The report also claims that staff within the House Sergeant at Arms office emailed Paul Irving that January 6 was Pelosi's fault. When Irving was forced to resign after the riot, an email from an unnamed staffer in his office criticized Pelosi's knee-jerk reaction to yesterday's unprecedented event and described his resignation as spectacularly unjust, unfair, and unwarranted. This is not your fault or Capitol Police Chief Stephen Sund's fault. And we remember Capitol Police Chief Stephen Sund sitting down with Tucker Carlson saying that there are feds in the crowd, that he wasn't informed on quite a lot going on. So is Trump right for calling out Nancy Pelosi in the Meet the Press interview? I think so.
Nancy Pelosi turned down 10,000 soldiers. If she didn't do that, and now
Nancy
I understand.
Pelosi doesn't have the authority that
the
you
police
have as
testified
commander in
against.
chief, though.
Listen to me, Kristen. Listen to me. I understand that the police testified against her. The chief very strongly against her. Capitol Police, great people. They testified against her, and they burned all the evidence.
Weird.
Okay, they burned all the evidence. They destroyed all the evidence about Nancy Pelosi.
What do you say to people who wonder why you as commander-in-chief, you have authorities that Nancy Pelosi doesn't have as commander-in-chief?
No, she has authority over
Why
the
didn't
Capitol.
you send help in that moment, though?
Frankly, just so you understand, I assumed that she took care of it. She turned down.
But when you realized that the National Guard wasn't coming?
Well, you don't realize anything until quite a while.
I do think that President Trump is one of the funniest guys out there.
Frankly, just so you understand, I assumed that she took care of it.
That's like me talking to my son. Hey, bud, you asked to be excused from the table, and your mom's cleaning up your plate. Why didn't you bring it to the sink? And he's like,
frankly, just so you understand, I assumed that she took care of it.
Yeah, she did. She did. I can't. It's so weird. I listen to these President Trump interviews, and I just always think of my 6-year-old because this is something that he would say. And I love Trump. I do. I just think it's funny. Why did you take your plate to the sink? And why is your mom doing the dishes?
Frankly, just so you understand, I assumed that she took care of it.
Yeah, well, she did, but that's your job.
I assumed.
I mean, could President Trump have done more? Probably. I think probably. Were there feds in the crowd? Almost certainly. Did Nancy Pelosi turn down the National Guard? Sure seems that way. It sure seems that way. A lot of failures. A lot of failures all over the place on January 6th. So I think he's right for calling out Nancy Pelosi. I do. And I'm here for it.
National Guard not coming. I asked it to be there 3 days in advance, and she turned it down.
She says that request was never officially made.
Oh,
just so you know.
Let me just tell you.
Let me ask you about this,
Let me
Mr.
tell you.
President.
The mayor of D.C. gave us a letter saying that she turns it down. Okay, we have it. Nancy Pelosi also was asked, and she turned it down. The police commissioner
I'm talking
of
about the
Capitol
day of,
Police,
though.
wait a minute.
Yep.
Capitol Police said that he wanted it, and Nancy Pelosi wouldn't accept it. She's responsible for January 6th.
Mr. President.
Nancy Pelosi's responsible.
Mr.
And the
President, you're the
J6
president,
committee
though. You
refused to interview
have
her.
authorities that no one else has as the commander-in-chief. Do you think you showed leadership on that?
Yes, absolutely, I did.
Okay.
Yes, I do. I'm with Trump on this one. Nancy Pelosi wasted No time to respond, though. She was also on all the talking head shows on Sunday morning, and this was her on MSNBC being asked about President Trump's comments on, who was at fault for January 6th.
All right. First things first, before we talk about your run for re-election, the former president of the United States, Donald Trump, on Meet the Press, says this, and I'm quoting you directly, him directly. Nancy Pelosi is responsible for January 6th. He is blaming you for the attack on the Capitol that he instigated. Your response?
What do you think her response is, Mac?
What a ridiculous clown show.
It's actually, it's pretty close to what happened.
Well, the former occupant of the White House.
I love how she calls him the occupant of the White House.
Occupant?
The former occupant. I prefer resident-in-chief for Joe Biden, but the former occupant.
Well, the former occupant of the White House has always been about projection. He knows he's responsible for that, so he projects it onto others.
Oh, he's about projection. The Democrats dabble in projection every single day. Like pigs in the mud, they project what they're doing, and they try and put it on other people. And when they're not projecting, they're gaslighting. So, all right, continue, Nancy.
His instigation of an insurrection.
I thought she was gonna misspeak there, and say the other word that people often mistakenly say when they say insurrection. But she choked on it a little bit.
Insurrection, an assault on our Constitution the day we were supposed to approve and we did, the work of the Electoral College, the result of the Electoral College, the assault on the Capitol building, the assault on the Constitution, the assault on our democracy.
I mean, poor Nancy still has PTSD from that day. I wonder, didn't she had a film crew following her around that day, a documentary crew. Wonder when we're going to see that tape. I'd like to see that.
Shame on him. However, he always projects. Now, he used to say, well, she turned down my troops. No, we begged him. Chuck Schumer and I begged him to send the troops again and again. His Secretary of the Army, McCarthy, another McCarthy, and acting Secretary of Defense just made it, there are too many obstacles, it's bureaucratic, it's this, we can't do it. They know their exposure, so they project.
They know their exposure, so they project. What do you think? 615-737-9986. I feel like Nancy Pelosi's projecting. I feel like Nancy Pelosi's gaslighting. In classic Democratic fashion. Because Trump will tell you that he didn't do anything wrong that day. And in fact, you can watch the tapes and he'll say that he wanted to march peacefully and patriotically to the Capitol. And we've seen so many reports that National Guard was turned down. We've seen Capitol Police Chief Steve Sun sit down with Tucker Carlson and say that there were feds on the ground. With all this stuff happening, has Ray Epps been arrested yet? Oh. Weird. I have a feeling we're going to find the missing F-35 that's on autopilot overhead near South Carolina before Ray Epps gets indicted. We'll find the missing Malaysian flight before Ray Epps gets indicted. Hunter Biden might go to jail before Ray Epps gets indicted.
And so he says also in that interview, Nancy Pelosi turned down 10,000 soldiers.
Yeah, well, these Trumpites were attacking the Capitol.
What are we called now?
Trumpites.
Oh, we're Trumpites. Trumpets. I would have gone with trumpets.
Trumpites were attacking the Capitol, fighting the police, threatening my life and the life of the vice president. We're turning down the troops. I mean, there's a sickness here. There has to be an intervention.
There's a sickness here. There has to be an intervention. Well, I would ask Joe for tips on an intervention. They've run quite a few with Hunter. Quite a few.
And that intervention has to be the election, which we have to win. And that's one of the reasons I'm running again, to fight for our democracy, which is at stake if he's on the ballot.
Oh, thank you, Nancy. You know, I think that we could all rest easy knowing Nancy Pelosi is there in the darkness fighting for our democracy. Oh, Nancy, I feel so good knowing that she's on our side and fighting for democracy. Don't you feel good about that, Mac?
What a ridiculous clown show.
Yeah, 1051 on Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. Hey, it's Chris Hand for the Dr. Gill Center in Franklin. So I had one of my boys go on a sleepover over the weekend, and then my other son, my 4-year-old, he was excited because he got some time with Dad, and we wrestled around and had fun. And I tell you what, my neck and my back are so tense right now, and I know who to call without having to worry about downtime, without having to worry about surgery, needles, or pills. It's the Dr. Gill Center in Franklin. Now, no matter what kind of pain you're dealing with, whether it's back, neck, knee, hip, elbow, all of it can be treated with no needles and no downtime. And at the Dr. Gill Center in Franklin, they've been doing just that for over 30 years. Right now, the Dr. Gill Center wants to offer you a great deal if you're suffering with pain and looking for non-surgical solutions. So get this, $49 will get you all of your new patient exams, x-rays, and a complete review of findings. So less than $50 to find out what's causing your pain. Give the Dr. Gill Center in Franklin a call now and begin your journey in becoming pain-free. 615-882-4838. That's 615-882-4838. Tell them Chris Hand told you to call. Don't take a pill. Call Dr. Gill.
President Biden's out with a statement on those 5 Americans freed from Iranian custody today. Hunter Biden has filed a lawsuit. Civilian and military agencies are looking for a missing fighter jet. And you might want to check your settings because Apple has something new for your phone today. Details at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. After the last update, I had to turn off optimized battery charging. Have you guys seen that? Where it's
What's
like
that?
I just ignore it because I don't know what it means.
So it's like it stops your phone from charging.
Well, I don't like that.
I don't like that either.
Like overcharging? Is that what it would mean?
Now you're getting technical. On
Yeah,
me.
yeah, it's overcharging. That's what it is, Brother Mac.
I wanted
Batteries
to
die all
start.
the time because you charge them too much.
All right, Mac.
Yeah, screw them.
Screw you,
Yeah,
Mac. Mac.
Siding with Apple.
Like, how dare you? You side with big tech over me. It just the little things that anger me.
I just want to watch my stories.
Hey.
That's all I want.
We noticed you plugged your phone in. We'll start charging it around 3:30 a.m. It's like, no, I think that's a garbage.
I'd like to now.
It's a garbage setting. I plug it in. That's you start charging. You don't tell me when you're going to start charging. All right, Kimberly in Smyrna, I see you have a comment on Nancy Pelosi. We're going to get to you next right now, 10:59, my friends. Ken Weaver waiting in the weeds with the news.
Eleven o'clock on the dot. This Monday morning, I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We're going to tell you when it's going to rain next, or if it is, during the full forecast in 2 minutes. 5 Americans freed from Iranian custody today in a deal that sparked criticism because it gives a known state sponsor of terrorism access to $6 billion. Karen Travers has the latest from President Biden, who released a statement.
Is celebrating the release of 5 Americans detained by Iran, saying in a statement that they will soon be reunited with their loved ones, quote, after enduring years of agony, uncertainty, and suffering. The president says he's grateful to the U.S. partners at home and abroad for the tireless work to achieve this outcome, singling out the governments of Qatar, Oman, Switzerland, and South Korea. President Biden says that reuniting wrongfully detained Americans with their loved ones is a top priority for his administration, and notes there are still many unjustly held in Russia, Venezuela, Syria, and elsewhere around the world.
The detained U.S. citizens include an oil executive, a businessman, and a conservationist. Hunter Biden has filed a lawsuit in Washington, D.C. federal court. It's against the Internal Revenue Service. It alleges unlawful disclosures made by a pair of whistleblowers who accused government prosecutors of mishandling their investigation into Hunter Biden. Civilian and military agencies looking for a missing fighter jet in South Carolina. Here's Jim Ryan.
Realizing that there was a problem with the aircraft, the pilot of the Marine F-35 ejected and was hospitalized in stable condition. But no one knows where the plane ended up because the onboard transponder that would have marked it on radar screens wasn't working. The fighter jet was assigned to Joint Base Charleston. Searchers are concentrating on Lake Moultrie, a body of water 14 miles across at its widest and 75 feet at its deepest.
Apple on Friday launched the iPhone 15, complete with the universal USB-C charging port. Now, Apple users have a new operating system to go with their new devices and their old ones. iOS 17 will let you leave a video message if the person you're calling doesn't pick up. The new operating system will also allow users to read a transcript of a voicemail in real time and decide whether to pick up the call, sort of like monitoring an answering machine message. iOS 17 will be available starting today on most devices introduced since 2017. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, it's Chris Hand for Paul Winkler Inc. Now, I got 4 kids, and me and my wife didn't have a financial plan, but we knew we needed one because we might be paying for weddings, possibly even college down the road for any of the kids that want it. So we had to come up with a plan. Now, I've been listening to Paul's radio show since I moved to Nashville almost 8 years ago, and it was after meeting with him and realizing that he's the same guy that I heard on the air, smart, honest, and legit. I was all in. Now, Paul and his team hold themselves to a higher level of fiduciary standard than is required, and because of that, government regulators do what government regulators do, and I got to tell you, I'm paid every time this commercial airs, and that's true, but it's because I got to sit down with Paul, break bread, and have my financial questions answered that I decided to become a client myself. I'm super impressed with Paul and his team. He's a smart guy. He knows the financial world better than I do, and with Paul and his team, nothing is done on commission, and I can't stress to you how much peace of mind that gives me, because I know when they're giving me advice, when they're trying to help me make the right decisions, that they're helping me make the right decisions for me and not them, because nothing is done on commission. But they are big on education, and their investment education is evidence-based and backed by Nobel Prize-winning research. So do what I did. Check these guys out. Every office is run by a degreed planner with over 20 years of experience, and you can feel the difference between Paul's team and the rest because that experience equals confidence. So talk to one of his team members. Set up a complimentary 15-minute phone call right now on his website, paulwinkler.com. That's paulwinkler.com, or call 615-851-1950. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So I guess they've narrowed down that missing F-35 into a 75-foot deep lake, right? Is that what he said?
That's what Ken said.
Wouldn't that be like pretty easy to like figure out if it was there?
You know, just like cars, I'm not exactly this sort of expert, but it seems.
You're not an expert on crashing F-35s
yeah,
in the
this
lake?
isn't my forte per se, but yeah, it feels like you've narrowed it in. I mean, my gosh.
Strap on some goggles.
Let's go.
Is it down there or not?
Come on. I'll take a deep breath and dive in.
Like, I feel like you could figure that out pretty easily. The conspiracy theorist in me thinks it's probably landed in Cuba. What?
It's fair.
I mean, what? Right? Like, I don't know. How does it go missing?
I used to be a really good swimmer. I could hold my breath for a long time. I could dive in and see what I can do.
How long do you think it would take you to hammer that out, whether it was down there or not? 15 minutes?
Yeah, exactly.
20 minutes tops.
That's it.
Couple come up for breath, so they go back down. I didn't see
Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second, guys. Almost there.
You just go in. I mean, I feel like they should be putting up some missing posters.
2862. We don't have thermal imaging equipment. I mean, that right there.
How hard is this? I feel like we're not a proper country anymore. We're just losing jets now. We're just losing F-35s. No big deal.
It's all good, guys.
They literally said, if you see it, let us know. What?
Wait, what?
I don't know. I don't know if that was the one that was missing the pilot, but I definitely saw one fly overhead. Well, that's not going to help us. Yeah, I got another text. Sonar? I don't know.
I mean, yeah.
I feel like
this is crazy.
It's like the cameras in Jeffrey Epstein's jail cell. Like the transponder just happened to not be working at that time. What a coincidence. Right? Like, oh, the one time that we needed, it's not working. Getting a lot of texts that says quite a few texts saying the jet is in Corvette is in Joe Biden's garage next to the Corvette.
It's in the locked garage. Oh,
that's where it is.
Can't find it. That's why.
The garage is locked.
Yes, of course.
But by the way, my Corvette's in a locked garage.
Yep,
it's locked.
8212 says we're a Will Ferrell movie of a country.
Oh, God.
We absolutely are. All right. Well, Trump was going back and forth with Nancy Pelosi and Kimberly and Smyrna. You've been waiting on that line so patiently. Kimberly, you have a comment on Nancy Pelosi. Kim, you're on Super Talk. What's up?
Hey, you guys. First of all, you don't want to swim in JP5 jet fuel. Anyway, the whole thing with the troops, I mean, it was a setup. They denied the troops because they wanted this to happen. If you think about it, who is Ray Epps? Who really is this man? He played a major part in coercing people to go into that Capitol. Plus, they had FBI agents there that they won't admit to, but we kind of know about. I think she let it happen because she wanted the chaos and to blame him. But technically, it really is on her, and I don't understand why she didn't face charges for it.
No, I think that's a great point. Thanks for the call, Kimberly. And, the Democrats love optics. There's all the talk in town about license plate readers reducing crime. Well, D.C. has so many cameras, and they never caught the guy doing the pipe bombs, laying the pipe bombs out on January 5th. There's never been any text or any interest even about the Antifa riot in May that forced Trump into a bunker at the White House where Secret Service agents were assaulted. That wasn't an insurrection. We're not a serious country anymore. It's crazy. And now this F-35 jet is missing. Ray texted in to remind us F-35s also carry nuclear missiles. So thanks, Ray. Awesome. So the conspiracy in me thinks, all right, the jet's in Cuba, and they also have nuclear missiles. Awesome. 8574 says they can track our cars, but not an expensive plane. Yep. So true. We're a Will Ferrell movie of a country. Text of the day.
So accurate.
5671 says F-35 doesn't have OnStar? No. Nope. Oh, the 2862 says they're going to crash the jet for an insurance claim to give it to Zelensky. He's coming this week to ask for more money. Vladimir Zelensky. How much of your check are you kicking in, Mac?
Oh yeah, I got his Venmo on lock, so I'll cash app him.
Yeah. Let's just send him the cash app. Perfect. Everybody else you guys kicking in too?
Better chip in.
Yeah. GoFundMe for Ukraine.
That's happening this week. Do you think? He's gonna probably get approved.
Well, and they said that they were going to tie it to the government spending, and I don't think that they should approve it. I'm tired of funding a forever war that's just ridiculous. Trump was asked about this exact thing during his Meet the Press interview. He was asked about Ukraine and the government shutdown, and he's not for it either. He went on Meet the Press with the new host, Kristen Wilkins. What's her name? Kristen Welker. Kristen. And she was just belligerent with him the whole time, just badgering him, going on about it. But he did sit down with her, and he was asked about Ukraine. And this is what he had to say.
Some people hear you say you're going to end the war in 24 hours, and they worry that means President Putin is going to get to keep the territory he's unlawfully
I'd make a fair
claimed.
deal for everybody. Nope.
Doesn't mean that? Wouldn't be a win for Putin?
That's something that could have been negotiated because there were certain parts, Crimea and other parts of the country, that a lot of people expected could happen. You could have made a deal. So they could have made a deal where there's less territory right now than Russia's already taken, to be honest.
They could have made a deal a long time ago, says President Trump. I don't think we should have ever gotten involved in this conflict, personally. And it's only gotten worse, and it's only going to get worse for Europe. It's going to be a cold winter in Germany with that Nord Stream pipeline not there anymore, guys.
And you could have made a deal where nobody was killed. They had a deal. They would have had a Ukraine country. Now nobody even knows if Ukraine is going to be totally taken over. I will say this. Something's going on, and it's not good for Ukraine because the news is no longer reporting about the war.
The news is no longer reporting about the war. Now, why is that, Mr. President?
The fake news. They don't report about the war anymore. You don't find much reporting. That means that Ukraine's losing.
And we've heard this time and time again. We've heard it from Tucker Carlson. We've heard it from plenty of people in the know. Ukraine is losing the war. Whatever they're telling you, Ukraine's winning. It's lies. They're not. They're losing. And people are fleeing the country because they don't want to fight in that war.
Okay? I see very little reporting from NBC, your network. I see very little reporting from NBC, ABC, from CBS, from anyone about the war. It used to be you'd go and you'd watch, even a couple of months ago, you'd watch all of this great strategy. The spring offensive never happened. Ukraine's spring offensive never happened because they were met with a wall of armaments and bombs.
President Putin's worried people are losing interest. President Zelensky's worried that people are losing interest in this war. As you're saying,
no, I'm
Mr.
just saying, I'm not seeing anything about the war anymore. To me, that means that probably because the press is fake and very discredited, that would mean that, look, here's my attitude on the war. I just want people to stop being killed.
Some people.
He just wants people to stop being killed. I think that is the correct answer. When the war broke out, I've said it a couple of times. My daughter came over from school and said, "Hey, Dad, whose side are we on, Russia or Ukraine?" And I said, two things. When the Republicans and Democrats agree on something, run, and there's no winners in war. There's none. What was essentially a land grab to get Russia's sea access has turned into just an all-out, total catastrophic war. And if we keep pushing, we're staring down the barrel of World War III. That's where we're at in Ukraine. Do we give them more money? No. We need to get out of it completely. You're on your own. Negotiate peace. If we didn't give Zelensky money from the beginning, he would have been more inclined to negotiate peace. But every time he comes and asks for money, we open up the checkbook like we just give him a blank check, billions upon billions of dollars. Meanwhile, our country is falling apart. We're falling apart. Our military isn't being taken serious anymore. We lost an F-35. We lost an F-35. It's lost. We have no idea. If you've seen it, call this number. 0882, perfect text. In our country, there are Americans losing homes and can't afford food, so Bidenomics can send our money to someone that wants to destroy us. Thanks. Absolutely. Americans are being priced out of the car market. Half of Americans can't afford a car. Half. Interest rates at an all-time high. If you look at dollar for dollar from the Great Depression, run it through an inflation calculator, we're actually making less than the average person was making in 1930 during the Great Depression. Mind you, a lot more people were out of work during the Great Depression, but the point stands. Your income doesn't go as far as it used to. And we're just going to send more money to Ukraine. Awesome. Perfect. Sounds like a great plan. So when Zelensky comes in his one sweatsuit this week, he's going to ask for more money. I wonder if any Americans out there are really excited about giving more money to Ukraine. 0132 said it's only World War III when Republicans are in office. Seriously. I mean, they warned that Trump would lead us to World War III. They warned that Trump would ruin the economy. Everything they said Trump would do when he was president is what Joe Biden is doing right now. Quite literally. It's unreal. But here we are. And meanwhile, China's licking their chops. China can see that Trump isn't in office. Joe Biden is weak, useless, and probably not even in charge. And they're licking their chops looking at Taiwan. President Trump was asked about that on Meet the Press. Here's what he had to say.
I know you've been asked this, but very quickly, if China were to invade Taiwan, have you made a determination, again, since voters are about to go to the polls, would you send the U.S. military into Taiwan if President Xi were to invade? President Biden says he would.
I won't say, because if I said, I'm giving away, only stupid people are going to give that answer. I heard the other day, DeSanctimonious said something about he was going to do this or he was going to do that. I say, well, why is he saying the strategy? You can't say that. So when you ask me that question, I would never say that because you give away all your options.
But you don't take it off the table.
don't take anything off the table. No.
I do like how he's like, no, I'm not going to say that I'm going to defend Taiwan. Why do you need to say that? Why do you need to give up your strategy? Good answer. Why would you? Why? It's a silly thing to do. I'm old enough to remember Trump saying that he would bomb Moscow if they went after Ukraine. He literally said that they would bomb Moscow. I'm pulling up the story right now. Trump claims he once warned Putin that he'd bomb Moscow. In a startling statement, given that Trump just recently praised Putin, this is from 2022 of March. They're all saying, oh, he's a nuclear power. They're afraid of him. He was a friend of mine, Trump preened. I got along great with him talking about Putin. But Trump insisted on the call that he also played tough with his buddy. If Putin invaded Ukraine, Trump claimed he warned him, we're going to hit Moscow. And he sort of believed me, like 5 to 10%. Trump added, that's all you need. He never did it during my time. No. And they won't, because Trump had that right amount of crazy. Just the sweet spot of crazy, where he didn't know if he was actually telling the truth. And they never made a move on Ukraine while Trump was in office. It's weird. When Trump was in office, there were no new wars. Weird. But here we are with Joe Biden. And wouldn't shock me if Taiwan is invaded before the end of the year. It wouldn't shock me at all. Because if China wants Taiwan, are you going to make a move now, or are you going to wait till Trump's back in office? You're going to, how are you going to make your move? When are you going to make your move? And right now, all the polls show that Trump is leading. Trump would even beat Biden in a head-to-head, according to some polls. And I know how I feel about polls. We like them when we like them, and we don't when we don't. But if you're China and you're just looking at it objectively, wouldn't you make your move sooner than later? He has more from that Meet the Press interview, and we'll get into it next. It's 11:21 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, it's Chris Hand from my friends at USS, United Structural Systems. Now, this is an industry, and these guys told me this. You don't know you need it until you know you need it. And I was one of those people. When I poked my head down in my crawl space a couple weeks back, I realized, whoa, I need some help down here. And I contacted the guys at USS to come up with a plan, a custom plan for my home for a full encapsulation down in the crawl space. And they can make a custom plan for your home, too. So do me a favor. If you haven't poked your head down in your crawl space lately, now's the time to do it. If you're noticing standing water in your crawl space, wet basement walls, cracks in your basement floors, that means your house is trying to tell you something. So give USS a call to check it out, 615-488-7855. They've been in Middle Tennessee for decades, and they have over 25,000 satisfied customers. I'm confident you will be satisfied as well. So call USS today, 615-488-7855, or everything you need to know is online, USSTN.com.
The U.S. and Iran have completed a prisoner swap. Hunter Biden has filed a lawsuit, and the federal government demanding payback for a mistake it made. Details at 11:30 on Supertalk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. It is 11:25 on Supertalk 99.7 WTN. Getting a lot of texts about the missing jet. 32.99 says, please don't forget to put the missing jet on milk cartons. 0930 says, seems like the stealth mode is working. That's a positive. 6115 first time texter says, hey dude, where's my jet?
That's good.
Randy says we should ask the spy balloon, the Chinese spy balloon, where the jet is. Yep.
If no one's seen Pepsi, Where's My Jet on Netflix, it's a great documentary.
What is that about?
It's about this. There's this ad that Pepsi ran and they didn't have a disclaimer on. They were basically saying, hey, if you earn this many Pepsi points, you can get a jet. And this one guy was like, cool. And then gave him the points, and there was this whole big lawsuit. It's really cool. It's dope.
Did he get a jet?
You have to watch it.
Oh, come on.
No, he didn't get it.
All right, thanks. I was like, I'm not going to watch it.
He should have, though.
Yeah?
He was correct. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
He sued them and everything?
Yep. Oh, yeah. I went to court. It was a whole thing. Yeah, they basically... They should have been deposed. They should have had witnesses. They should have had a jury. I mean, there was a bunch of stuff that because Pepsi's Pepsi and they had money, they got by.
Big soda. Am I right? You'd never have that kind of problem with RC Cola. You just wouldn't. They're an honest company. Millie in Murfreesboro, you have a comment on January 6th and President Trump. Millie, you're on Supertalk 99.7 WTN. What's up?
Yes, honey, I wanted to say if Trump had kept his butt in the White House on the 6th, we wouldn't have innocent people going to jail. I think he should pay all of their legal expense. I won't vote for him again. I'm sorry.
Oh.
His children ran the White House. He should have listened to the people that he had in office. Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for the call. I appreciate it. You know, he did say...
All right.
He did.
All right, honey. Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
miss. I appreciate you. Thanks for the call, Millie. You know, he did say that he's going to be looking into the January 6th indictments. He did say he's going to be looking into all those cases if he gets back in the White House. Yeah, I think he should have looked into that as well. Although, you know, the time period that he had from when January 6th happened to when he was out of office was very short, and a lot of those sentences hadn't come down yet. A lot of that prosecution hadn't even started. So, yeah, I mean, I get where you're at. I do. It's not going to sway me from voting for him. Maybe that sways you. I feel you, and I get a lot of people feel that way. I do. You know, a lot of people criticize Trump for two things. Not the pardons that he didn't give out, like Julian Assange, and then Operation Warp Speed. And I get those criticisms. I do. As far as Operation Warp Speed goes, I think that fast-tracking the vaccine in the first place broke that psychological barrier to reopening that a lot of people had. But, you know, hey, everybody's open to their own opinion. And, you know, I get where you're at. I do. It's 11:29 on Supertalk 99.7 WTN. I just got a text that says, if RC Cola tells you that you can win a bicycle, you win a bicycle, dang it. It's the truth.
That's it.
It's the truth. Don't fall for the lies of big soda. 11:29. Anything you want to talk about? 615-737-9986. Brian texted. He said he can pardon them in 24. And yeah, I think he's going to look into a lot of the Jan 6ers in 24 about pardoning them. 4202 said, we lost an atomic bomb off the coast of Georgia in 1958. It's never been found. Screw that jet. Find the bomb. All right. Did you Google that for me, Mac? Did we lose an atomic bomb off the coast of Georgia in 1958? These things wouldn't shock me. They really wouldn't. I mean, was it the day before 9/11? Rumsfeld went on TV and said that they're missing $2.9 trillion. Never underestimate the government's ability to mess something up, right?
Super text is correct.
Oh, fact check true.
That's it.
We lost a nuke.
1958, two Air Force jets collided over Georgia. One was carrying a nuclear weapon. The plane dropped the bomb off the coast of Tybee Island, landed safely. Several searches have failed to find the weapon in the decades since.
Ah.
Good.
All right. Makes you feel all warm and fuzzy inside. 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast in 2 minutes. The U.S. and Iran have completed a prisoner swap for 5 detainees each. But Iran also gets access to $6 billion in unlocked oil assets, which the White House says they can only spend on humanitarian efforts, but cannot say how they're going to make sure that is what Iran spends that money on. Hunter Biden's filed a lawsuit in a Washington, D.C. federal court against the Internal Revenue Service over alleged unlawful disclosures he said were made by a pair of whistleblowers who accused government prosecutors of mishandling their investigation into the president's son. And the federal government is demanding Social Security recipients pay back billions of dollars for a mistake made by the agency. As Rhiannon Nally tells us, those who have received the demand letter describe it as nothing short of a nightmare.
Former police officer Matt Cooper was shot while on duty in 2018. He and his wife rely on Social Security payments, but the couple got a letter demanding they return $30,000.
It's hard to actually heal and get better when you're constantly having to revisit the worst day of your life.
Matt was denied an appeal, even though it was the government that incorrectly factored in his workers' compensation.
That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. You often hear me talk about diversification in the investing process, but how do we diversify? Well, we look for things that move in dissimilar fashion historically. Some of those market areas might be really small companies or really large companies, or very growth-oriented companies or value-oriented companies. And one of the things that we find is that when we diversify between these various segments, we can reduce the volatility of the portfolio because they don't move in tandem with each other historically. Now, we can do that in U.S. markets, we can do that in international markets, and in emerging markets. And when we can dampen that volatility, we can help get ourselves a little bit of a better outcome as far as knowing what we might likely have in the future or how we can take income from our investment portfolio. Now, we also want to add fixed income or bonds to the mix as well. Now, if we know that we need to do this, what's the best way to do it? Well, one of the things that we often teach is this concept of market efficiency. This won the Nobel Prize in economics as well. And it's the idea that if I'm investing in, let's say, small value stocks, if we look at professional managers and their ability to say, hey, should I have this stock or that one, and picking companies or areas of the market, we find that they typically get lower returns than the market does on its own. They just add expense and they can add a lot of volatility. One of the things we want to avoid is anything that can hurt your returns and increase your risk in the investing process. To learn more about our approach to investing and financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call or call 615-851-1950.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We were talking about the missing jet, the F-35 that was lost overhead in South Carolina. And somebody texted and said, it's not the worst thing they've ever lost. In 1958, they lost an atomic bomb off the coast of Tybee Island near Georgia. Yeah.
Yep.
Off the coast of Georgia, near Tybee Island, should I say. So we got a text from our friend Joe, 7277. He said, thanks to you folks, now I will never look to vacation at Tybee Island. That bomb is just waiting to go off, although I wouldn't mind having white teeth. Again, I hear nuclear energy has a thing for whitening your teeth. Just saying. So,
You're welcome, Joe.
You're welcome. This is what we're doing. We're keeping people safe. No nukes lost near Destin. That's all I know. I also got a first-time texter, 0026, said, my brother lives in Charleston. No news there on the jet. Wow. Well, tell him to keep an eye out for it. That's what I said.
Yeah, I mean, your brother, come on. Your brother needs to have his eyes peeled.
Yeah. Yeah, just look out for it. If you see it, let us know. We'd love to break the news on where it is here first. So apparently this jet, if you haven't been paying attention, a pilot was riding in it and then ejected him or herself out of the plane accidentally. And then the plane was an autopilot and it just kept going. And then the Epstein jail cell cameras, the transponder wasn't working. So nobody knows where it is. So the military's asked for everyone to keep an eye out for it. So let's all do our part. Let's all do our part.
27.99 says, after all, it is a stealth jet. I'd say that's money well spent.
It's working.
We can't find it.
That means it's working, you guys. Mac, this text is for you. 0093. Bigger loss, the F-35 or Tennessee to Florida?
Ooh. Yeah, balls.
It was the balls.
It was the balls.
Oh, it's okay.
We were much less stealthy about it, that's for sure.
Yeah, they weren't stealth at all.
Nope.
No, you don't have Rocky Top queued up today.
Yeah, I was really excited about it, too. I was looking forward.
I don't know.
I'm in hype. Got to win for that. Got to earn it.
6887 talking about the Jets, so that's going to be one wicked payroll deduction.
Oh, my gosh.
Can you imagine?
Golly, yeah.
John in Lawrenceburg texted. He's like, Chris, do you know where a guy can get some jet fuel? Asking for a friend. I don't know, John. I don't know. It's going to be that poor jet fuel from Venezuela, the tar. It's not going to be good, sweet jet fuel like we have under our feet here in America. I'll tell you that much.
Bunch of texts wondering how accidentally do you eject yourself as a pilot?
I have no idea. I have none. I can only assume that somebody was on TikTok in the jet making an epic video, and the Chinese algorithm must have took control of the plane. It's the only thing that makes sense to me. 6943 says, by the way, we're still looking for Jimmy Hoffa as well. Yep. Jeez. A lot of text on this this missing plane. How much fuel can an F-35 hold? That is a good question.
That's a great question.
How much? Get that answer. How much fuel can an F-35 hold? Like, if this thing is just flying around, how long can it stay in the air? On autopilot, I assume it's in eco mode, right? It's probably using the fuel as economically as it can.
So it's 20,000 pounds, or I see 18,000 pounds here, 600 gallons. I just need to find out how much that actually gives as far as range is concerned.
Got to do some math. And then if this thing crashes accidentally in a residential neighborhood and it has a nuclear weapon on it, does the nuke detonate? Is that something that would happen? I don't know. I got a bunch of military people that listen. You guys let me know. Call me, 615-737-9986. If this thing goes down in a neighborhood because it runs out of fuel, does that nuclear missile on board go up too? Oh, 2714 with some clarity said, the pilot accidentally ejected themselves by pushing a red button and asking, what is this button for? So that's probably how it went down. Oh my gosh. What happens when this plane inevitably crashes? Interesting. 4295 seems like the woke military is working good. Yeah. Seems like what's it? Under budget and ahead of schedule. We're rocking it. 1833 says, remember they couldn't even track the spy balloon. Nope. And they could see the spy balloon. Frank and Bethpage, you have a comment on the missing F-35. Have you seen it, Frank?
No. It came over. I heard some noise. I looked up. I saw a couple birds. That was it.
All right.
But the F-35, as far as being, you have to arm these things for any kind of nuke to go off. And I remember, and I can't remember the date exactly, early 60s, a B-52 left out of Spain, and we were not supposed to have nukes in their country, but it had nukes on it. It crashed, and it was a big flap, and they recovered all the nuclear devices from the ocean floor. So there's more that goes into it. And it also had a Minuteman missile one time that had these caps over the Minuteman missile weighed tons, and this thing went off, blew the cap off, and they found some of the devices some distance away. They did not go off. I believe it takes a lot more. You have to arm these things before they go off. My guess is I doubt it's carrying any kind of nuclear weapons.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks for the call. I appreciate it, Frank.
Thank you.
Yeah. You know, so they lost the plane, but it won't decimate a neighborhood. That's good. That's good news.
From executiveflyers.com, they're saying the F-35 around 1,300 miles without refueling.
Okay, but like how fast does that thing go, and how long is that?
More Googling to be done.
Yeah, you gotta come on, Mac. What are you doing? You're just giving me more questions, man. So like this thing's probably already down. This thing probably already crashed.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So it's already down. They have no idea where it is. 3393 said the pilot was a redneck. Hey, watch this. Maybe. Yeah, I'm seeing 1,200 mile range. I'm seeing everybody saying, yep, they would have to arm those nukes for anything like that to happen. Brian on line 1, you have a comment on the F-35. Brian, did you see it?
No, I didn't see it, but
Okay.
like I said, they probably picked up Hunter Biden's son and get him out of state.
That's what somebody else texted. And they said Hunter Biden's probably flying around that jet somewhere with a crack pipe, just having a good time.
Yeah, they just can't find the crack. That's all.
Yeah. Hey, I appreciate the call, Brian.
All right.
Thanks so much, man. Oh, you guys are funny. 0397 says there's a Wonder Woman invisible jet joke in here somewhere. Yeah, there is. We just got to find it. See what he did there? 8906 said I saw the jet advertised for sale on Facebook Marketplace. 7605 first time texter. I found the jet and will trade for a jet and $6 billion. Dave on line 2, you have a bomb story and I'm all ears. What's up, Dave? Hey, Dave, you're on Super Talk. What's up?
Oh, it's James, man.
Oh.
Hey, I called earlier. I haven't seen the jet, but South Carolina, we got a reputation for planes going down. Back in, I think it was like the 80s, maybe a little earlier than that, we had a B-25 was doing low flyovers, trying to check out some girls on the lake, and ended up crashing in Lake Greenwood. So, we'll catch it. We just got to make sure it lands in one of these lakes.
So you'll catch it. You just have to hope that you catch it in a lake.
Yeah.
All right. Good to know. Thanks, James. Appreciate you, man. Yeah, this is the craziest story. Somebody said, does it default into ocean mode? I would hope so. Yeah, 3840. Does it default into an ocean in a panic mode? Maybe. I'm not sure. 3996. I completely agree. It's just an absolutely ridiculous situation. Yep. We used to be a serious country. 5102, I've been saying this all day. The jet's probably in Cuba. The jet is probably in Cuba. John in Lebanon, you got a comment on the F-35. Did you see it? John.
Yes, this is John. I don't think it's funny to be going on and on making jokes about somebody's child being in danger and having to punch out of an aircraft. My son flies them, but there are some other parents out there whose son was on that airplane, and I just think that's really stupid to make jokes about something like that, a calamity like that.
Well, so all right, let me just break it down. I'm not making fun of the pilot who ejected safely and is fine. I'm making fun of the woke military and how like we seem to be declining as a country. And it just seems like with Joe Biden at the head of our military, we're having ridiculous stories like this pop up every couple months, from the Chinese spy balloon to now an F-35 flying around without a pilot. It just seems ridiculous.
Yeah, that's true. I agree with you on that. I'm a 38-year military officer. I'm a pilot myself. And when I served in the military, believe me, we didn't have a Joe Biden in charge.
No, and I think that's kind of what I'm hanging my hat on. Thank you for your service, by the way. But no, I'm not trying to make fun of anybody's kids who's out there, doing that job. I'm not trying to joke on anybody doing that job. This really, to me, just comes down to leadership and poor training. How does that happen? That somebody just ejects themselves from an F-35 accidentally?
Yeah. Well, no, I don't. I seriously doubt that he ejected accidentally. I've spoken with my son, and all he's one of the pilots in the squadron. All he knows is, yes, a plane went down. The pilot is safe, but an investigation will determine, what happened. But it's my estimation, based on my years of flying, it was probably a bird strike. He was probably Charleston area, because they say the plane most likely went down in one of two lakes on the north side of Charleston, near where the pilot ejected. So I'm betting on a bird strike. Those are brand new aircraft. It's not likely it's a mechanical failure.
No, all right, cool. Well, hey, I appreciate the call and I appreciate that info, John. And again, I'm not trying to clown on anybody's kids that are flying these planes. I'm just clowning on the absurdity of the situation. I mean, when you see a headline that says U.S. military asks for help to find missing F-35 fighter jet, you just kind of go, what? What? Crazy. Absolutely the most bonkers story of the day. And I'm not the only one that thinks this way. Plenty of politicians are weighing in on this. Nancy Mace, the local Republican congresswoman, said, how in the hell do you lose an F-35? How is there not a tracking device? And we're asking the public to what? Find a jet and turn it in? Exactly. 1150 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Us.com.
Proud father of two, work my
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Matt Murphy gets in the studio, and we immediately start talking about the RFK Jr. Assassination attempt over the weekend.
It's crazy.
Did you?
If you're a Kennedy, gosh.
So here's the thing that I thought was the craziest part. Yahoo News, or was it Yahoo? Yep. Yahoo News.
It's a dated reference.
Said RFK Jr. complains about Secret Service as heavily armed Trump-supporting imposter arrested at campaign event.
The
guy that wanted to kill RFK over the weekend was a Trumper.
Such garbage. I know you saw where CNN took the 14-page letter that the Biden administration sent to CNN and said, "Okay, yes, sir, we'll do." Such propaganda garbage. That's awful.
It's crazy. So if you didn't know the story, a heavily armed man tried to what's the word? Infiltrate.
Yeah.
As security for RFK Jr.
Claimed that he was a part of the security team, and the assumption is that if he had gotten inside that circle, he would have tried to kill RFK. RFK, who is considering a third-party run because the Democrats aren't taking him seriously, and they better start taking him seriously because this dude's polling at like over 20% now.
When I was at AtCon in Florida a few months back, Ron DeSantis got booed by a crowd of conservatives. RFK Jr. got cheered.
Well, and I think that's largely, I get it. It's largely his stand against the COVID-19 vaccinations or so-called vaccinations and all that nonsense, that government force-fed nonsense. I get all of that. I think if you do any sort of a deeper dive into his positions, but you're right. I think what people are applauding more than anything, and you witnessed it, is someone willing to stand up and say no to the narrative that we're being force-fed.
I think people just want authenticity.
I do too.
Just by any means necessary, give me something authentic. And what we were talking about off the air, they're scared of him as a third-party candidate.
Oh, I think if RFK is the best hope in the United States of America for a guaranteed second term of Donald Trump, because I don't have any faith that the Democrats will not try to swipe it again in the same fashion that they tried to swipe it before. They've got, 14 months in order to do it? With RFK as a factor, a third-party factor, he's taken 20% away from the Biden people.
Easily.
I love it.
If they lose that, then they're done. They're toast.
You're going later. You're leaving right now and going to try to find an F-35, aren't you?
I'm going to keep my eyes to the sky.
I don't blame you.
I heard one of the super texters said they saw one on sale on Facebook Marketplace.
Ghost plane. Bermuda Triangle, man.
Bermuda Triangle.
Real deal. It's Conspiracy Theory Monday on the Matt Murphy Show.
Is that your favorite conspiracy theory?
Oh, I like the Bermuda Triangle. Right. I like the Earhart conspiracy theories when we all know it's just because she was a woman trying to fly a plane. Come on.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN.